Hello, family. So glad to be with you again. Sorry we starting a little bit late. Yeah, Facebook had its own mind today, so and as you tell, we're not streaming on Facebook, so it's wild too. Because every time I try to, hmm, every time I try to log in with Facebook, it was just giving me a little issue. So we go on without it today, and that's a part of life. Staying agile, staying fluid, being able to adapt to change. So I look forward to our conversations tonight. We're gonna start off with our affirmations as we've been doing lately. I almost messed up. I couldn't remember if we were on Heart or Book Club was on Heart. Well, I know we did Heart with Book Club, but I couldn't remember if we did Heart already or if um we need to do Heart. So we gonna do Heart, and we'll start with Throat on Thursday. And since I got my heart bowl, we're gonna work with that a little bit. So find you a comfortable place, be able to relax or sit back and just enjoy. Start thinking about peaceful things. Oh yeah, right. I couldn't wait. I was impatient, right? But it looks nice, right? Hey Sherry, I appreciate y'all. I don't know what was going on with Facebook. Okay. See now y'all can't even get the #1 fan award because we on YouTube. So oh God. So here we go. We're gonna do our it is, right? Let me show you my jacket. So I couldn't decide on if I wanted to button it up. One button, right? And I tried to put it together nicely. Thank you. I appreciate it. Put it with the paisley tie. I feel like something that go up this high should go with the paisley tie. So I was stunting, trying to, you know what I mean? And it does match the ring very well. Ooh, ooh. Okay, there we go. So thank you. Toot toot toot. Blow my head up. You know what I mean? I like words of affirmation. That is one of my love languages. So I appreciate words of affirmation all the time. So here we go. Hold on. Let me see if I can send messages now, because this would be crazy if I can. Let me tell me if you can see this. We're gonna test something out. I don't know if it's just Twitch or what. Oh no. Okay, y'all can see it across the screen though. Hey, there we go. So, oh yo, that's crazy. Facebook is messing it up because I typed it one time and it came through for my Twitch and YouTube, which is crazy. Hmm. Well, I guess we ain't on Facebook now, so all right. Y'all got me unfocused. So we're gonna do our heart. And I promise you, this time I'm gonna have you put your hand on your heart. But right now, we're gonna get our throats together so we can have some good communication tonight. And I appreciate you, family, as always. We have been talking about symbols, and we're gonna move into some of the other things. But yeah, we're gonna talk about symbols again and recognizing the symbols of life. And I'm saying all this because that bowl was going ham, so that must mean we're gonna have some good conversation tonight. Or I got a lot to say, or one of y'all have a lot that you need to vocalize because we tapped into each other. So I appreciate you. All right, if you're sitting down, get comfortable or whatever. If you can, close your eyes and put your hand over your heart. And we're gonna start with a breathing exercise. This time we're going to switch it up. We are going to do 2, 4, 2. So that means we're going to breathe in, hold our breath for 2 seconds, breathe out through our mouth. Then we're going to repeat the process, breathe in, hold our breath for 4 seconds, breathe out through our mouth, and then last time for 2 more seconds. All right. On my count of 3, hand on your heart. Woo. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. Hold it for 2 seconds. 1, 2. Breathe out through your mouth. We're going to do that another time. On my count of 3. Breathe in through your nose. Hold it for 4 seconds. Breathe out through your mouth. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. Hold it for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out through your mouth. One last time. On the count of 3, we're going to breathe in through our nose. Hold it for 2 seconds. And out through our mouth. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. Hold it for 2 seconds. 1, 2. Breathe out through your mouth. And like we've been doing, we're going to do a little visualization. And, oh yeah, I did like that. I think we're going to, you know what? On book club, we sat on the porch. But the weather's cooling. We're heading towards fall. We're in harvest season. So one of the things I learned to love during harvest season is corn mazes. And I don't never know if you've seen one, but tonight you're going to practice your visualization and you're going to create one with your mind's eye. And to give you some idea, a good corn maze is like a small carnival. So they have several things for you to enjoy. So I want you to imagine you standing away and you looking at the corn maze and the rides and the popcorn and the cotton candy and all those different smells intertwined in the air. And you can smell it. Smell is the strongest sense tied to memory. You hear the laughter of children, the conversation of adults. You can see the workers working frantically to make sure the night goes off without a hitch. Now you walk a little closer to the maze, and you're going to go through this maze with your best friend. And right before you get ready to start the corn maze, a breeze blows through, and you can hear the leaves crumple, and you can smell the corn, and you can hear it sway in the wind. And you walk in that corn maze, and you are having the time of your life. All the scents, all the laughter, all the love is carried to you by that autumn breeze. And you can feel it as it blows across the tip of your ears and across the back of your neck. And you laugh with your best friend. And as you walk through this maze, you look at your best friend and you tell them how important this moment is to you right now. You tell them how special they are to you. You tell them what they mean to you and what this moment means to you. And as you're talking, you see the end of the maze, and standing at the end of the maze, you can see yourself. Visualize yourself at any age. Maybe it's your 12-year-old self. Maybe it's your 15-year-old self. Maybe it's your current self right now. But you see yourself at the end of that maze, and all those kind affirmations that you just gave to your loved one, your best friend. Tell those things to yourself. Tell yourself what you really mean to you. Tell yourself how important being present in the moment is to you. Tell yourself all the things that you needed to hear or that you need to hear at that moment, at this moment, and moments to come. And while you're doing that, I want you to repeat these affirmations with me. With your hand on your heart, say, I love myself and others. I deserve to be loved. I forgive others easily. My heart is fully open, loving, and pure. I follow the voice of my heart. I love myself and others. I deserve to be loved. I forgive others easily. My heart is fully open, loving, and pure. I follow the voice of my heart. Masir, so glad to have you, brother. Um, found out I could chat back. You see me talking on the screen too, which is crazy. So, I'm normally Facebook is the main page that I stream on, and it wasn't allowing me to stream today. So, um, we're not on there, and as wild as it is, I've been able to use features that I have not been able to use prior to today, like the chat box. All right, family. Um, I think I want to talk a little bit about the show, and I do definitely like the changes that we are going through. I like that we are beginning to attack specific topics, but I had a real conflict about the way I was doing it, right? And up until this point, I felt as though I was trying to find my footing as somewhat of a teacher, right? So, and the shows have kind of taken on class type of dynamics with PowerPoints and definitions and all of those things, which are beneficial for sure, for sure. But what I realized is, especially after the last couple of shows, and it's funny because Liberty said it. Uh, I appreciate you. So Liberty told me a little while ago that when I take it off script, I seem a little more energetic, right? And I understood what she meant. But I also feel as though when we have these shows, we got to have some sort of direction, right? I don't want to just be up here rambling on because I value my time and I value your time. So when we do energy readings, that's obvious what's going on. You know what I mean? But a lot of times we spend conversing about the healing process and being honest about the approach. The reason why I didn't necessarily settle well with my spirit is I never liked school. Although I did well in it, I just didn't like it because it was so constricting. It is definitely an institution that promotes uniformity, and some of the things that institution thought was necessary and the approach didn't really maximize our experience as students or as learners, which we are now as an adult. And for me, I really felt as though to be able to continue this and go forward, I really want to approach this in a more authentic way that matches who I am, right? And I always say I'm a teacher by nature. I'm a scientist by nature and a teacher by heart. So teaching and learning is just a part of the essence of who I am. But I do feel like the best way that I build the connections, the best way that I teach to the people and share the story is by being more of an orator and just having a genuine conversation with you all, right? And that's not to say that the conversations we've had before weren't genuine, because they were very much genuine and authentic and important to this journey. But as you know, the show has grown and changed over the last year, and it's going to continue to grow and change over the next year. I'm sure we all have visions and thoughts of where we'd like to go in our life. And I hope we have visions and thoughts for the people who help us shape our reality for where they can go in their life. Hey, pretty black girl, I appreciate you. It's funny too. I was thinking about you earlier today. I was being lazy though, so as I approach these future shows, I will have like notes because ultimately there are topics and things that I do want to address, and we're attacking specific topics. But I don't think I want to have that like institutionalized school type setup. And realistically, one of the reasons I don't want to do it like that is because, as I said, school is an institution. And over the years, school has created a lot of trauma for a lot of people. And you know, our part of our goal is to touch as many people as we can, reach out to these million people. And one thing that we don't want to do is be triggering in a way that doesn't help, right? We want to trigger people for growth, trigger people for hope, belief, faith. We want to trigger people for a lot of things, but we don't want to trigger trauma, right? Sometimes we even have to accept that we may trigger fear, but we don't intentionally want to trigger trauma. And as a person that didn't like school myself, taking on that approach went more for my understanding and my tools that I developed over the years, but not necessarily matching the authenticity of who I am, right? So going forward, we're going to go backwards a little bit in the sense that we won't be so confined to that box, right? If we are growing and healing together, and part of that is spreading our wings, we want to be aware of the places that we confine ourselves to a box, right? And that ties us back into this idea that we've been discussing as symbols. The symbol, the easiest way for me to be able to be helpful in teaching symbols is one, I do believe the definition is still necessary, but helping people develop the tools to recognize these symbols as they happen in our life. And one way that I recognize or that I received a symbol that something was off with the approach to this show was internally something just didn't feel right. I felt good. I felt accomplished. I felt connected. But it was like a pin drop of something that was missing. And it wouldn't go away. So that feeling was a symbol for me to take a pause and to think about, why is that feeling there, right? And ironically, I've had life has been wild because seems like Reiki, my opportunity to do Reiki is picking up. I mean, in person Reiki, right? And I haven't really been doing a lot of in person Reiki because most of the time, really realistically, when I've been doing my sessions up until this point, it has been really just the spontaneity of life. The opportunity just pops up and okay, I'll do it today. But ultimately, in thinking about these symbols of life, I had to realize, well, I had some clarity over the weekend after doing a couple of Reiki sessions, right? And one of the clarities that I realized is how much we as people can pause our own blessings and not even necessarily realize how we can do that, right? So for a while, I've been saying, as it relates to me doing Reiki in a space, I mean, doing Reiki in person, I've been very particular about doing this because at this point in my life, or yeah, at this point in my life, it just requires me to allow people to come to my place where I live. And that idea alone is wild for me, right? Because that would mean I would have to include strangers. And for the most part, I have not done Reiki on a stranger. Generally, I meet the person or I know the person, but I haven't had up until a point, like someone just find me and be like, hey, can you help me? Right. And I always said, I probably even said it on this show, but I know I've told it to friends that if Reiki was to take off for me, I wasn't ready. Block. And I didn't realize how that was a block until one day I said, you know what? I want to do some Reiki. And like that next day, someone found me on TikTok. And I've probably done 2, 3 sessions since Wednesday of last week. And I got a couple more planned this weekend. And that person that found me on TikTok presented somewhat of a challenge for me because that was a stranger that I'd be allowing in my place. And the ironic thing is her finding me the way she did. I took that as a sign or a symbol that one, I am on the right path. Recognizing how the simple things that you say manifest in your life, those are symbols that you are on the right path. And it's ironic because I was talking to a friend and we talked about this healing process. And I was telling them how someone else said that I sound free. When I talk, I sound free. And it's funny because I said, yeah, you can, when I speak now, you can hear the freedom in my voice. But someone has healed, or you all who are healing together as a collective with me. The other thing that you can hear in that voice is sacrifice. That is the letting go of the old, right? So now I've done this Reiki with this stranger and everything went better than I could have asked for, right? And then that got me to thinking, where did this idea of not allowing strangers in your house, right? So, as I say, when I work with people, as much as I'm helping them, they help me to grow too. And I learned so much. So, doing Reiki with this stranger was a symbolized battle where I had to face my, and I put air quotes around that, fears, right? Because of all the things that can happen when a stranger is in your house, right? And it was crazy because I told a friend about it, and their response was, you let a stranger in there? With the same idea that I had up until this moment. So I understood what they were saying. Even to today, I mentioned it to someone else, and they shared another idea along that line of strangers in your home. And as I thought, I realized that these conversations, these interactions, a common theme or thread is starting to emerge because I remained aware and I recognized the symbols that are happening in my life. They teach us about patterns in school. And we only think of those patterns in 2D. But when you start thinking about them in 3D, 4D, patterns emerge in a lot of different ways. And repeated patterns are symbols for you to pause and pay attention, right? So this symbolized a new fight for this fear that I had. And ironically, the thing about it was, whenever I really thought about having strangers or people I didn't know over in my place, I never really felt fear. Never really felt the emotion of fear. And I felt that enough to know exactly what it looks like. So that made me the fact that I could not feel fear, even though I was behaving in a fearful way, was a symbol of a disconnect in my life, right? So what I realized as I took that pause and I thought about it, that that fear was not mine. It was a tool given to me to protect myself as a child. And as we said before, some of the more difficult things to let go are the tools that were given to us, right? My homeboy said last night, in giving me some words of affirmation, that the tools that we earn symbolize something different. So I had to face a fear, get to the root of it, and realize it wasn't my fear. If you think about it, I grew up in that latchkey generation. One thing they told you to do is don't open the door for nobody. To the point Jehovah's Witness, these are holy people, can come to your door and you don't even open it. Because moving in this space of fear, that the idea of fear is protection, you don't even realize, because it was a tool given to you with the best intentions. And the ironic thing about this is you can easily think of all the people you know who do not move with that same tool. There are people running businesses, whole businesses, out their homes every single day. So what tools do they have that I was not utilizing that allowed them to do that? Which is even crazier, because when my ex and I were together, she even did hair occasionally out the place. So it was so crazy that I would even allow other people to do it, but I wouldn't do it for myself because I was holding so tight to a tool. Although it's useful, its usefulness has ran out. And the tool didn't match how I want to move going forward. And one thing I told one of my friends was, how can we sit here and have all these discussions and conversations about grace and mercy and all of those things, and we're not exhibiting them? We're not doing them. So the best way that I can help people understand what faith look like is I have to live in a space of faith. So soul family, you have to live in a space of faith. Fear and faith cannot reside in the same space. And from all that we've been through as people, individually and as a collective, it wasn't our fears that protected us. It was our faith. It was our belief. It was our work. that fear played a role in was motivating us. Because fear has a place. You just have to learn how to utilize it. So, all of those are symbols, the repeated patterns that happen, the things that manifest from your simple words are all symbols in your life to guide how you move, how you view yourself, how you love, right? And we started talking a little bit about, well, we stopped at it when we were talking about symbols. But I said the work of artisans, like the story of the potter that fashioned the clay. We, the work that we do, is how we model healing. The path that we take, the tools that we use, those are our symbols for where we also are in this journey of life. There was a time where I had none of this, but now I do. And these are tools that you've earned through trials, tribulations, and experiences. Right? I had doing this Reiki session. It was an interesting time. One of the ones I did recently, because we kind of immediately, the whole process is symbolism. When we went on this spiritual journey, whole process is symbolism. It's a battle with ego. It's learning to trust yourself. It's learning to follow someone else. It's a bunch of different things. It's the power. It's the art of letting go. It's a lot of different things. But so as I said, one of the best ways for me to be able to help is to point out the symbolism in life that isn't so obvious. So in this process of the spiritual journey, I like to have people write down their intentions. The writing is symbol. The words that you write is symbolism of the thoughts in your head, right? And after you write them down, the things you want to receive or the things you want to release, we have a little fire ceremony, and we use them. I mean, we burn them. And while they burn, you speak the intentions, you burn that fear away, you burn. It's symbolism of you taking control over your destiny, right? So it's not some sort of threatening art thing. It's symbolic, like most ceremonies that a lot of religions use. So as we burn, we outside and it's dark and we burning it, and I promise you, it's steel. You can hear a penny drop. No wind, no cars, no nothing, right? And then as soon as the last ash went out, a gust of wind just came from nowhere. And I say, excuse me, y'all, I'm thirsty. And I say, those are the winds of change. And they kind of looked at me and they was like, what? And I was like, you notice how there was no wind in sight, and there's no more wind. That gust of wind at the perfect time that you just finished professing your intentions, putting it into the atmosphere, a form of praying and asking, connecting to the God within you and that universal energy, that rightly timed, non coincidental. I don't know. Somebody just sent me a message about disrupting live. Hold on, that might be important. What? Okay, cool. It was a little bit important. So again, being able to react to the symbolism of life. Um, my screen give me notifications. If I see certain notifications, a lot of people forget that we do the show, but this person never does. So I understand. But that gust of wind was the symbol for you to recognize that, was a symbol that taking this chance, professing, connecting to the energy within yourself would was a symbol that you're on the right path, right? And later on, ironically, we wound up having to have a conversation about the whys. A lot of people ask a lot of questions. They want to know the whys. But I don't really worry about the whys because one, the whys add unnecessary stress. And two, which is how I use fear, because I'm afraid of this. So I use it to motivate me to be faithful and pay attention. But the whys, finding out the answers to the whys, sometimes only comes from experiencing the problem. So sometimes wanting to know why is how you wind up with certain traumas, right? But during this session, I learned about the power of perspective as well. And as far, especially as it relates to symbolism, because one of the things we talked about, or we even talk about on this show, is how there's usually two sides of every coin, but we get stuck looking at one side. So something that we feel is good, you flip that over, it is also bad. Something that we feel is bad, you flip it over, can also be good. So as we discussed, a lot of things don't have the connotation of negative or positive. It's what we apply to it by the perspective that we take. And perspectives are symbols of the tools that we can use to decipher the word problems of life, right? So, um, in my space, my bedroom has an energy of love, which man, listen, I've grown and learned a lot about being aware of that love energy. But anyway, we're on this spiritual journey, and we're in the room sitting on the floor, just getting some love energy, listening to the music. I'm stretched out. I'm one of those people where I'm in a place of meditation or something like that. I like to fully stretch out because I want to feel the energy come from the tips of my fingers to the tips of my toes, everywhere through my body. So even when we do the visualizations and stuff like this with you all, it is very difficult for me to do it like this because I really want to be like a starfish, like making snow angels. For real, for real. And so I'm laying on the floor, and I wind up finding a twig on the floor, and the twig is sharp on both ends. So like if I squeeze it a little bit, it give you a little poke, and I show them the twig, and bow. I get a lesson, and I get some clarity because they ask a very, very, very normal question: where did it come from? And that makes sense. Like, of course, they're not necessarily, of course, they know it came from outside. But that question is really, how did it get in here? And in that moment when I found that stick, I didn't even wonder how it got in there. I just assumed I took that stick as a symbol or a sign that during this process, my spirit will want to connect with the earth. And I say this because, as sharp as that stick was, I found it in a space that is not up in the path that people would walk where it would hurt anyone. So that's how it was easier for me to accept that no, it was no coincidence, but in the future timeline, it knew I would need it. And I played with that stick like a kid who likes to play with sticks because I was a kid who played with sticks. So it did allow me to connect to the earth and connect to memories of my childhood that were so enjoyable. All from that one stick, all from the symbolic perspective, all from accepting and not necessarily getting caught up in the whys, right? So I think I had an interesting conversation, and I talked to you guys about it before. But sometimes I'm not fully aware of all the symbolism that's occurring around me. But I do hold on to a lot of stuff because at some point, all will be revealed. So I hold on to a lot of knowledge or information because it will be useful at some point. And I remember we discussed me going to the Stones show where I got the black amethyst, right? And I talked about I met a couple of people out there who were interested, and the immediate connection was the Reiki healer community. You know what I mean? And so I met one dude, and I remember telling y'all he gave me some Palo Santo because I met him, his girl, and I paused because it seems like that friend who's just kind of new to the process because he couldn't even. He's like, I can't even say Palo Santo. So, but people in different people on different spaces, on different spaces in this journey of healing or obtaining knowledge. And I talked about a guy I met who told me about the other forms of Reiki. I bought this rock from him too, which I love. And I mentioned him talking about the other kinds of Reiki, Vajra, and something else. I remember I mentioned it to you a little bit, and I'm going to so many things that I want to learn now. And it's about prioritizing them. We learned them together over the long list. Look how long, how many things we've learned. Ooh, how many more tools that we will earn on our own. But I talked about the dude and the conversations and different forms of Reiki that he told me. And part of the conversation I left out is he was there with his significant other, right? And I have a tendency to genuinely ask people about their life. If we get in a conversation, I like to know how did you wind up in this space at this time to be able to have this conversation with me? You know what I mean? So of course, when we're talking about the Reiki, he goes into his Reiki journey and anything and blah 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 blah. But the part of the conversation that kinds of just came to me now that is somewhat of a symbol is something that he said as it related to his relationship with his significant other. I keep saying significant other because I don't know if they were married. You know what I mean? I know it was obvious they were together. They looked like twins energetically, and they balance each other out because he was way more free spirited. I could tell he stops and talks to any and everybody, and she's not quite like that. So she helps him keep track of time and moving forward because he's one of those people who get lost in the moment, right? But as we were talking, he says to me, he points to his woman. He was like, listen, when I met her, I had to heal her, right? And I didn't receive that symbol at that moment because it sounds almost ridiculous because it is contrary to the tools that we have been given, right? We're taught as it relates to relationships and marriage and family. It's kind of like you meet this person, y'all a perfect match. You go have kids, you get married, blah, blah, blah. It's the perfect story. Now, we do learn that life and all those other things happen, but we're talking about the path that they say it's supposed to happen, not what actually happens. We're talking about a theoretical aspect, not the actual practice of it, right? It sounded almost ridiculous because, like I was saying, it's contrary to what we've been taught. One of the ways that you hear it hugely, especially on social media now, is this idea of building your partner or this idea of struggle love. Everybody, well, I won't be so facetious. But tons of people proudly profess that that's not something that they are willing to accept, right? And for us to continue to hold on to these beliefs, we have to use the most vile examples or symbols to justify why we won't accept struggle, love, or building our partner. We think of all the worst stories that aren't even the highest percentage. They're not even the majority. And I don't even mean like 51-49. They're not even close. But those tools that were either given to us or we developed through our experiences or traumas is what we're holding on to and keeping it from, right? So as I'm healing and doing this Reiki and things like that, it allows me to gain new perspective. Like I say, we learn together, we heal, we learn together. And that part of the conversation that me and him had popped back up in my life, in my mind, in one of those moments of pause and reassessment and check to see if I miss symbols. And that one piece of conversation just stays in my mind. And as I do more healing, I see people along on various places on this path, right? And I see possibility, I see potential. And when you step back and look at healthy symbols of relationships, healthy symbols of interactions, two things they usually include are struggle and love. Struggle and building your mate. Which ties back to the tools and the symbols that we use that may not align with who we are or where we want to go. Now, life naturally creates its own struggles for you. So to say that you're unwilling to accept struggle, love, is akin to saying I'm unwilling to accept struggle in love. And essentially putting a pause on your blessing. If you say you're not willing to building is support, growth, vision, leadership, change, fluidity, all the things that building with someone symbolizes from the ground up or coming along and making it better, which is a gift for a lot of people, is a beautiful thing. And all that to say is sometimes to get what we truly want, we have to do some things we don't want. And That man said he had to heal her. I had to accept that as a possibility that for my dating experience, I may have to heal her, build her, struggle with her, right? And now that sort of acceptance or clarity has came to me, I have to pause and sit back and think, what does that look like? Because there are definitely some aspects of struggle in relationships that where I am on my healing journey, I cannot accept. There are some aspects of building or supporting someone on this journey that I can accept. So I have to, like we've been making lists of our rich life, our love life, and who we got to be. I have to include in that list, write these things down, create that roadmap, those boundaries for what that looks like. So that if that moment comes, because in a perfect world, I won't have to do that. But if the world ain't perfect and that moment comes, I want to, one, make sure I already had the right perspective, and two, make sure I already had the right tools for the job. Because it's almost nothing worse than for your opportunity and moment to actually come, the symbolism, and you have not prepared yourself. Right? And with that, family, I think that's a perfect way to wrap that up. And we'll do a little more talking about our symbolism next week. And we'll start sliding into um hmm, I don't know. I'm thinking trauma. We'll start discussing trauma and how that affects our minds, how that programs us, and we'll start recognizing the tools that how our traumas are reflected in our lives and our decision making. Um, I thank you, family, again, as always. Here we go. We're gonna turn this around. It's always a blessing. I thank you all for catching up with me on YouTube too, man, because Facebook we're acting crazy, so it might be normal next week. But if you got some time, what? It's probably Streamlabs needed a update, which is crazy. So, oh, I appreciate y'all stopping through on TikTok too. I seen you. Jay, I appreciate you, black man, as always. The support, the love. Um, so Thursday, we'll continue reading. I think we only got about 50 pages left. I don't think we're gonna read 50 pages on Tuesday night, but we will definitely continue to reading. But we're almost done. Um, before I let go, and if you can't make that, uh, I hope to see you again next Tuesday. And remember, say your heart affirmations. Read them one more time. I love myself and others. I deserve to be loved. I forgive others easily. My heart is fully open, loving, and pure. and I follow the voice in my head. The element is wind and air, where's air. So spend some time where you can feel some wind blow against you. It's good for your heart chakra. And family, I will see you next. Well, I'll see you Thursday or next Tuesday. Appreciate